Please be seated. Thank you all so much for attending today. My name is Renee Schlepfer. I'm pastor at Twin Lakes Church, right across the street from where we are today, and it is my honor to be with you as we celebrate the life of Sergeant Damon Gutzwiller. Damon Christopher Gutzwiller was born on June 29, 1981 in Santa Monica, California, to Vicki Ellen Gutzwiller. In 1989, Damon moved here to Santa Cruz County, graduated from Aptos High in 99, and then attended this place, Cabrillo College. While here, Damon volunteered at the Santa Cruz County Sheriff's Office under then Sergeant Jim Hart. And in 2006, Damon was hired by the Sheriff's Office. His career was exceptionally accomplished. But you'll hear more about that in just a few minutes. It will become clear to you, if it's not already, that he was a professionally accomplished and deeply beloved member of the Santa Cruz County Sheriff's Office family. In 2012, Damon met the love of his life, Favi. And Favi loved Damon for all the same reasons that his sheriff's family loved him, including his humor, patience, loving nature, giant heart, and ever-present smile. And you'll be hearing a lot about that today, too. In 2018, they welcomed their son, Carter, to the world, and Damon and Favi were excited to be welcoming their second child later this month. The world is undoubtedly a better place because of Damon. Today, you are going to hear from 5 of Damon's fellow officers, friends, and family members, and you'll hear 2 beautiful songs bookending those testimonies. And in between those moments, I'll be sharing more thoughts about Damon from you. Something has happened to me that rarely happens before memorials. I have been flooded with letters and emails that were sent to me in the last several days. I wish I could read them all, but the few sentences that I'll have time to read to you will give you a flavor of this beautiful life and how many people present here with us really wanted to honor him with their words. You came today to honor a great man, and I know you will be as moved and inspired as I've been hearing more about Damon. Now, in a moment, we'll hear a song from Lisa and Kid Anderson, but before that, would you join me in a word of prayer? Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Lord, we grieve today with the family of Sergeant Damon Gutzwiller. May his family sense our collective love for Damon and support and love for them, both today and in all the years to come. And Lord, we also pray for all uniformed personnel here today. We thank you for every single person associated with the Sheriff's Office, for every police officer, every firefighter, every CHP, every search and rescue officer, every dispatcher, every first responder. They put their lives on the line for us every day. And we pray that you would bless them and keep them safe and let them sense the gratitude of our community today. And finally, we pray for our community. In times like this, 3 things threaten to take over our thoughts: fear, despair, and hate. And we pray that our community is filled instead with faith, hope, and love. May your kingdom come, your will be done, here as it is in heaven. Amen.
you're not really gone as long as I believe. There will be another angel around the throne tonight. Your love lives on inside of me, and I will hold on tight. It's not my place to question, only God knows why. I'm just jealous of the angels around the throne tonight. You've always made my troubles feel so small, and you were always there to catch me when I fall. In a world where heroes come and go, God just took the only one I know. So I'll hold you as close as I can, longing for the day when I see your face again. But until then, God must need another angel around the throne tonight. Your love lives on inside of me, and I will hold on tight. It's not my place to question, only God knows why. I'm just jealous of the angels around the throne tonight, singing hallelujah, hallelujah. I'm just jealous of the angels around the throne tonight.
And now it's my honor to introduce Santa Cruz County Sheriff Jim Hart. As Sheriff Hart makes his way to the podium, the first of some thoughts sent in by you. This from Steve Shaw, who wrote, "As a friend, Damon was a happy and jovial person. Damon's smile lit up the room. And aside from being a good friend, I know he was an even better father, partner, and son." And now Sheriff Hart.
Thank you, Pastor. Ordinarily, I would call out our dignitaries first, but I want to call out our police. You guys are awesome. The work that you do in this environment, I've never seen it like this, but you guys are amazing, and I love you for that, so thank you. I also want to acknowledge Governor Gavin Newsom, who was here earlier, and people don't realize what he did for us, but he allowed us to have this ceremony today. And I just can't thank the governor enough. And I know that for my agency and everybody else, it was important that we do it now and not wait, and the governor allowed that to happen. And then I also want to thank the Attorney General, Javier Becerra, for being here as well. Your presence is greatly appreciated, as is people from Cal OES, CHP, everybody else. So thank you. So, we all came here today to pay tribute to Damon and Alex Spencer and Emma Ramponi and the CHP officers that responded on June 6th. It was a bad call. But those people, what our people, our CHPs, what our deputies did that day saved many, many lives. And I want to thank our community members for the hundreds, if not thousands, of phone calls, emails, text messages. Our deputies and our police are loved in this community. And people are making us more and more aware of that every day. If you drove in that procession today, you saw hundreds of people lining the streets to show their appreciation for Damon and their appreciation for police. I also want to acknowledge the dozens of law enforcement agencies and officers who sprang into action on June 6th, and dozens more have poured in to our community to protect us. We were stretched super thin. My agency needed help. We called for help. And people came. In all, more than 40 agencies responded to Santa Cruz County. It's a lot of police. Not to mention our fire brothers and sisters and our dispatchers and our EMS crews. Everybody was amazing. And to all those police agencies, I know that I will forever be in your debt, and I know that my deputies feel the same way. I'm humbled by what you all have done. I want to especially thank the Santa Cruz Police Department and Chief Andy Mills. You guys were awesome. You still are awesome, what you're doing for us. Thank you to the Santa Cruz Police. I also want to thank our surrounding sheriff's departments, Monterey, Santa Clara, San Mateo, San Benito, for giving us personnel, for giving us support when we really need it, and just being there, just being present when we needed them the most. It's been amazing. Not to mention agencies like San Jose Police, Santa Clara Police, and it goes on and on. I can't mention them all, but our local agencies, Scotts Valley, Watsonville, Capitola, Santa Cruz, CHP, State Parks, UCSC, it goes on and on. But they've all been here for us when we needed them the most, and I will never forget that. And then we have some federal brothers and sisters. FBI showed up here with 50 people to process that crime scene for over a week. They flew in teams from Quantico to help us with this. They've been amazing, as has ATF, Cal DOJ. It's been incredible. And I appreciate all of our local agencies and our surrounding agencies for giving us time to mourn. We needed that. We need that now. We have people who don't even work here in our jails right now so that our correctional staff could be here. We have people in patrol. We have people in court security. We have coroners. We have people all over our office that don't work here, but they're here to help. us get through this, and I can't share my appreciation for them enough. So when I was thinking about what I was going to say to you today, there's a Latin phrase that says, quis custodiet ipsis custodes. And what that means is who watches over the watchers? Who guards the guards? Who protects us? And today, our brothers and sisters are standing with us, protecting our community, protecting our jails, protecting our courts, and protecting us. I want to say to Favi and Carter and your little one on the way, we love you, and we're here for you. Damon loved this community, and he gave too much. But every member of our department, myself included, will make sure that you feel that love right back, Favi. Not just now, not just next week, but in the years to come. So we gather today as a community and a nation in pain. Pain that's vivid and on display on every street in every city in the state and country. And there's a hole in our heart. And there's a hole that Damon's memory will fill, reminding us of how he lived his life, how he served his community, and how he protected and loved his family. And we know that Damon will be watching over us. It is his memory, it's the example he set that will serve as our guide. We also know the eyes of the world are watching law enforcement agencies like all of ours. And yet, our doing our jobs honorably and successfully is a burden that we all gladly shoulder. When we put on our uniforms every day, we know the risk. But we also know that none of us are perfect. But perfection is expected of us. If we follow Damon's example, the world will see the best of us. This duty, this responsibility is foundational to our service and gives every one of us a deep sense of pride to know that we're also working to protect the community that we love. Damon knew that. He was from here. And this community is why he became a sheriff, why he became a deputy, why he wanted to get into law enforcement. He viewed his community as his family, and if you saw that, how he was with his family and his friends, you'd have seen a man who was singularly devoted to making those around him feel special, feel loved, and feel safe. I had the honor of knowing Damon 20 years. Known him since he was 18 years old. He volunteered in this department. My wife, Jackie, hired him as a volunteer. He worked right here at Cabrillo College. Worked for me as a parking enforcement officer. And I talked to him a lot about getting into law enforcement. We hired him in 2006, and I promoted him to sergeant last year. And he was a very, very good sergeant. We should count ourselves lucky that he grew up here and made us part of his family. And he leaves a lasting mark on this community and on those of us that loved him. In itself, our department prides itself on the community policing that we do, and Damon exemplified what a community policeman was. And because of Damon, this community has grown. Strangers from across the country, inspired by Damon, are standing up to share their support, and they're pledging donations to the family that he has left behind. And we grieve with his family. Our whole community grieves with you, Favi. Damon was truly one of a kind. He showed us what it means to be generous of spirit, of energy, and unflappable in the face of life's challenges. And I know that if he could take the pain away from us all right now, he would. Our mission now is to carry both Damon's memory and the example he set as we return to our jobs and return to this community that Damon loved so much. So how do we live up to those challenges? We tell Damon stories. His children deserve to know just who their dad was. We must never stop taking inspiration from his courage, his kindness, his example. And his fellow officers deserve to know who they served alongside with. He had an infectious smile, and he was the kind of person whose memory summons more than 1,000 people to a vigil less than a day, 12 hours roughly after this horrible, horrible thing happened. We had over 1,000 people in front of our office to remember and celebrate Damon. Damon's former partner, Sergeant Steve Ryan, described Damon as rock steady, patient, gentle, confident, and calm. And it isn't just Damon's former partners who describe him as the guy everyone wants next to them when things go really, really bad. Damon showed up when things became hard. He was the kind of person who would make us feel safe and make us feel like we're not alone like we do today. That we have to go through all of this without him is probably the biggest part of this tragedy. Damon was tough when he needed to be. He could take enforcement action as well as anyone, but policing to him meant trying to communicate his way out of a problem, always remembering that all of us are part of this community. If I could fill my department with Damon Gutzwillers, I would. And believe me, our ranks are full of Damons. And I'm proud of you guys, and I love you guys. We're left with the charge of living up to Damon's legacy and keeping this community safe in a way that would make him proud. Damon would also want to acknowledge that he wasn't the only one to answer that call on June 6th. Indeed, on that hillside, Deputy Alex Spencer was ambushed, seriously injured, and Deputy Emma Ramponi was seriously, was also ambushed that day. Now, they called for backup. And down the road, a civilian literally looked madness in the eye and said without flinching, not my town. And he tackled this killer. And he swatted away a bomb, and he swatted away a rifle, and he swatted away a pistol. And so to Deputy Spencer, Deputy Ramponi, and all of our police that were up there that day, I want to thank you for stopping this rampage. And as we speak, the people of Ben Lomond are playing host, or they were until the FBI finally cleared that crime scene a couple days ago. But our community in Ben Lomond, Boulder Creek, Felton, were up on that hillside bringing water, bringing food, and bringing their love to let us know how much they care about us. It's no wonder that Damon loved this community so much. He also loved his job and would demand that we find our way back to serving our community. It won't be easy for any of us, but maybe it helps to see the example being set by those in Ben Lomond, to witness the heroism of our surviving deputies, Alex and Emma, and everybody else that was on that hill that day, and hear the tale of one courageous resident who stood up when we all needed him the most. There are no magic words that I can say. There's no tricks that I can offer to make the pain go away. But we must remember that Damon is counting on us. And Favi, for you and the family, I want you to know how much we loved your husband. He was a good, good man. Let's make Damon proud. Thank you.
And now Sheriff Hart will present Damon's badge to Damon's family. Thank you so much, Sheriff Hart. On a personal note, my son, daughter-in-law, two very young grandchildren live in Ben Lomond, a short distance from where the incident took place. So not just as a member of the community, but personally, we owe Damon and all the officers involved a huge debt of gratitude. And now as Mark Ramos, a family friend, comes to the stage, it's my privilege to read some more of your letters. Dee Baldwin wrote, "I've known Damon for nearly 20 years, and that time we grew exceptionally close. We made it out to sea on jet skis, crawled up mountains, camped, and played lots of poker. Through everything, I found two traits that defined Damon: unshakable happiness, it was contagious, and clear priorities. Family, period. Everyone else talks about putting family first. Damon actually did it." And Nate Engelhardt said, "We've known Damon for about 15 years as an extension of our family. He was always there, helping us move, showing up for sons' birthday parties, teaching our sons how to play poker. Poker's becoming a theme here. He had a gentle way around kids, and we both knew that he would eventually become a great father. He influenced many lives that I'm sure he wasn't even aware of." And now Mark Ramos.
Good morning. My name is Mark Ramos. Damon's one of my best buddies. Many years ago, my wife met Damon and his dog Shasta walking our dogs on the beach. Wanda could tell that he was a really good guy. She snapped a picture of him and our dogs together. When I got home from work, she showed me the picture and asked me if I've ever seen him at the beach. I said, yeah, I've seen him. I avoid him. I thought his dog looked mean and Damon might look like a punk. She laughed pretty hard at me and said his dog is really sweet and he works with your brother Paul at the sheriff's department. Well, I couldn't have been more wrong. Damon was not a punk and Shasta was anything but mean. The next time I was on the beach, I saw Damon walking Shasta. I went up to him, and from that time on, we became best of friends. He truly was the greatest guy. We started spending more and more time with Damon. He became a son to my wife, Wanda, and I. He became part of our family. We would walk the dogs on our days off together. We loved his good nature and funny ways. We would both talk of our jobs, me in the fire department, him in the sheriff's office. We talked about cops, robbers, good guys, bad guys, fires, car chases, and family. After our walks, he would come over for breakfast, or he and Shasta would stop by for dinner. Wanda would cook up something good, and after every bite, Damon, with that big smile on his face, would say, amazing. We always had plenty of his favorite ice cream and cheesecake, pumpkin, anything pumpkin. And of course, after every bite, he would say, amazing. Damon still wanted to meet the right girl and have a family. Damon would share his stories with us, including meeting Fabi. We saw his eyes brighten when he would speak of her and knew this is the one for him. One time, Damon was going on and on about all the wonderful things Fabi. My wife laughed and started singing, "Love is in the air." And Damon smiled with that big smile with his and responded back singing, "What's love got to do with it?" And then he said, "Yeah, I do love her." Fabi fulfilled Damon, and we were no longer feeding him breakfast and dinners. His time was all about Fabi. We still walked on the beach and talked almost every day, but Fabi became his life. One day he told me that he and Fabi were playing without a goalie. Sorry, Fabi. And me, in a senior moment, had to ask, what are you talking about playing without a goalie? Damon was so proud. He said, we're going to try to have a baby, so no birth control dummy. He couldn't have been happier to become a father. He would send us pictures of Carter and comment there was no resemblance to him. Just to hear my wife say, better look again, that's a mini me, Damon. Fabi and Carter were the stuff that dreams are made of for Damon. And with another one on the way, he was strutting, pretty proud of himself, yet trying not to brag about his good fortune. My wife and I lost a man we loved as his son. We look forward to seeing Damon's life dreams continue to come true and grow. Damon was the greatest guy and best friend we could have. We were so lucky to be part of his life. He got me doing things I'd never done before, like playing fantasy football. I think it was mostly guys from the sheriff's office and me. He always reached out to include me. He told me how Fabi got him going to church on Sundays, so he had to figure out how he was going to sneak to check out his fantasy football. I'm not sure how he seemed to win every year, but that may be a whole another story. Some of us lost our best friend. Some of us lost a fellow brother. Fabi lost her soulmate. Carter and baby Gutzwiller lost the man that would have wanted to be the best daddy. You are so missed by many, my friend. I miss you so much. You are a son to us, and we will honor your life by loving your family. Till we meet again, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mark. Now, as Sergeant Steve Ryan, another close friend of Damon's, makes his way here, some more of your thoughts. Jake Cooper said, I have so many stories about Damon, but here's one. We both got on the drone team for the sheriff's office, and we would walk around the office calling ourselves pilots. We even designed flight jackets for ourselves, and whenever we would see a real pilot, Damon would say, "Hello, fellow pilot." Well, this made one actual pilot very upset. So Damon and I thought it would be a good idea to change his ringtone to the Top Gun theme song. Damon then turned his ringer up all the way and sat in roll call with the sergeant who was a pilot. In the middle of the sergeant talking at roll call, I called Damon and the Top Gun theme song erupted at full volume. Damon did stuff like this all the time. He always had a smile on his face.
Well, I don't know what I'm going to say now because you already know I'm a pilot. That was my entire speech. Good morning. My name is Steve Ryan, and I'm a sergeant with the Santa Cruz County Sheriff's Office. I apologize for the COVID-19 haircut, but I promise you, I don't get much better looking. So there's something that it was kind of customary if you walked into a room and Gutzwiller was there, or he walked into a room and you were there, you had to scream at the top of your lungs, "Guts!" So, I'd like to hear one big 1,000-person Guts right now if I could. So 1, 2, 3, Guts! Thank you. Damon, my brother, what a blur these last days have been. I'm a cop, and as a cop, you know we love gossip. We deal in stories. Over the last 10 days, I've been scrutinizing every minute I can remember spending with you. The minutes of every adventure, laugh, meal, smile, and hug I shared with you. And I'm a hugger. I knew you were special. As you were my first beat partner, you set the bar pretty damned high. I was such a cluster of a trainee, but you treated me like I've been doing this job forever. You were a friend immediately. I can still remember those first 3 calls 12 long years ago. I can remember you laughing as you always did as we frantically scrambled from call to call. You loved this job. You loved it to the end. Damon, I knew you were a good man. I can probably count on one hand the number of people in this world I've met that I couldn't think of one negative thing to say about if forced. You are 3 of those 5 fingers. Favi found the picture I sent her of you and I having Thanksgiving dinner on duty at Felton Chinese 4 years ago. I remember saying back then it was one of the best Thanksgivings I could remember. That moment was important to me then, but now it feels like everything. I spent a lot of time with Favi, her incredible family and friends, and your wonderful mother over the last 10 days. I've looked through all your embarrassing middle school pictures, and there's a few. Puka shells and frosted tips, by the way. And marveled how little you have aged since you took your oath in 2007. I've been humbled and a little frustrated at how incredible of a partner you obviously were to Favi. Who the hell carves their girlfriend a Welsh love spoon? I felt like I knew these people the moment I stepped into your home. I have learned to not turn down food from wonderful, sweet Michaela. Lieutenant Plegman and Deputy Gidding have met their match in Pasquale, who has lived outside their patrol car door talking about everything and anything in his immaculate cowboy hat and boots. Carter and Shasta have been doing laps around your neighborhood with Junior and Salvador. I took one with Carter and Shasta too. Mickey and Megan have doted endlessly on Favi, who, as you would imagine, has been swatting them away from time to time. You could trip on the amount of love that is in that house right now. The air is heavy with it. They all love you, Damon. We all love you. It doesn't matter if we knew you for 5 minutes or 38 years. You made all of our lives just so much brighter. And without you, it will take a little while for our eyes to adjust. In our business, Damon, you know it's important to keep making noise, to keep relevant, to keep your name in the mix. You didn't play that game, did you? You let your actions speak for you because your words were reserved for those around you, weren't they? Your loss, it's so huge because we all, every one of us felt that we were special to you. You made us feel that way, like we were the most important person in the room, that we were valid, that our concerns were worthy, and that our lives were defined by far more than our uniform. Selfless. I would never try to define you in 8 letters, but selfless is a good place to start. We tend to degrade this core trait among great men and women in our profession by mistaking selfless with doesn't whine. How many times were you asked to do some BS assignment, some terrible shift, hold late, come in early, skip a vacation, overlook for something you deserved, and every time you would just shrug, smile, and get on with your life? But as I'm sitting in your home, surrounded by your family, I realize how little I knew of the depths of your selflessness. Favi has shared with me the countless tiny gestures of love you did for her, from incredibly beautiful and thoughtful Valentine's Day cards, planning complicated vacations for her and her family, waking up early with Carter so she'd get a bit more rest after her long, long shifts, playing with Carter and helping with chores even when you were so ill a few months ago. Your mother was always so important to you. You would talk about her so often. I remember being ashamed at how surprised I was when you told me that you'd have dinner with her weekly and you would drive her to all her doctor's appointments. You were carrying so much on your shoulders, and still you just shrug off the bad so you can get on with the good. The only time you would ever seem prideful is when you would speak about your family. You were so proud of Favi, of her professional success and personal accomplishments. You were proud of her family. I remember hearing so much about Junior's gym or Marco's MMA record. I remember hearing about Mickey and how much fun you'd have with her annoying Favi. Like I said, I felt like I knew these people before I stepped into your home. But Carter made you the proudest of all. Damon, I'm not used to seeing so many pictures of a kid from a guy who doesn't use social media. It didn't matter if it was a judge, county supervisor, defense attorney, waiter, or the sheriff himself. If Carter's name came up in conversation, you were going to show us a recent picture. I know you were worried that when you were sick and Fabi's family couldn't come by so often that Carter would start to forget all the Spanish you were so proud he was learning. Rest assured, they are making up for lost time, and I've heard quite a few por favors from Carter. Now is my turn to be proud. I am proud, humbled, and honored to be able to consider you friend. I am proud to have known a man that did so much for so many people and demanded so little attention in return. I am proud to have known this giant who I leaned on so many times with difficult decisions and during difficult times. I am proud to know that we will continue to walk the halls of our office that are now made hallowed by your passing. And I'm proud of the men and women who risked so much alongside you. But I'm also scared. I'm scared that I may never live up to be the man that you thought I was. I am scared of what an hour from now, a week, a month, a lifetime without you looks like. But fear didn't stop you, and it won't stop me. Your quiet strength, so much more strength than we will ever truly know, will move us all forward. We owe you that much, my brother. Selfless. 8 letters. When I think back on the horrors of that chaotic day in June, I will choose not to remember, but instead I will remember how I knew and loved a truly selfless person, a giant among men, and a dear, dear friend. And I will shrug, and I will smile. Damon, I love you. Vaya con Dios, amigo.
Thank you, Steve. In a moment, you'll hear Sergeant Chris Shearer, another close friend of Damon's. And as he makes his way to the stage, more of your thoughts. This is one of my favorites. Daniel Robbins wrote, "There are so many fun memories, but this one sticks out. Damon was one of my first beat partners when I was new. Well, one night he stopped a person for a traffic violation, and in the car we found tools that this person had been using to burglarize cars and several items of stolen property. Damon was working to get to the bottom of it, but the guy just kept lying. And then with a straight, authoritative face, Damon said to him, 'Do you know what you are? An LLPOF.' I was thoroughly confused. I was a new deputy and thought this must be some acronym I hadn't learned yet. Even the suspect had a puzzled look on his face. Damon then proceeded to tell him, 'LLPOF, that stands for Liar, Liar, Pants on Fire.'" That was Damon. Straightforward, creative, and playful. He was the best of us, and I will always see him whenever I hear children chant, "Liar, liar, pants on fire." I miss you.
It's a lot easier to write it than it is to say what we're going to say. God. This last week, like most of you, I spent every second arranging the memories of Damon, recalling every detail about him. Every single detail. And the details matter. They matter more now than ever. The details of our last conversation, our last call, last shift, and of course our last beer. I can't say anything up here that any of you don't already know or don't already feel. He was a good person, a good human, and an incredible father. To the deputies that work with Damon, I know we're tired, and I know we're hurting. We can see it in our eyes and our faces and our voices. We're going to hurt for a long time. That's okay. And stay healthy, talk with your family, and continue the work we do so proudly at the Sheriff's Office. Just know that you're valued, you're appreciated, and you're loved more than you realize. There's going to be moments in your career that'll knock you to your knees, and this, unfortunately, it's one of them. And together we're going to fight, and we're going to pray to God as a family, and this will never happen again. We're going to get lost in questions and pursue an endless search of the whys and the hows and the what-ifs about that day. I don't know if we'll ever get what we're looking for or if any will ever make any sense to us. But I am certain that we will always find a little bit of Damon in all of our lives. When I arrived at the Sheriff's Office that night, I was late. I walked into investigations, and I expected to see deputies and detectives and everyone grieving and crying and unable to work. And what I saw was different. I saw briefings taking place and priorities and tasks being assigned. And I'm not sure why I was surprised, but that's us. That's who we are, and that's what we do. We sometimes feel resilient and invincible and promised. We sometimes feel resilient and invincible and become consumed with our committed and promised responsibility to our community. And while doing so, we dismiss ourselves and our health and rely on a false notion that we can grieve later and just focus on our work. Let me tell you, I'd never been more proud in my life to be a member of the Sheriff's Office the day of that incident. It's okay to grieve and to cry and to mourn. We have to, and we must. We owe it to each other, we owe it to Damon, and to our families. We must learn to heal and live again. I ask that we always remember Damon in all avenues of our lives and to the value, the reason he was loved so much. Be loyal, and be honest, and be Damon. This week, Steve and I spent time with Favi and her family. There were plenty of tears and laughter and storytelling and sharing stories that had never been told and hearing the same stories over and over that will never, ever get old. What I saw and heard from this amazing family will forever be kept close to my heart. They're incredible people. Favi, you told me something the first night we came to your house. I took it serious and will forever hold that promise I made you. Carter will never, ever have a doubt what an incredible person his daddy was. And that promise, it starts today. Carter, sitting behind you is a never-ending sea of tan and green. Those are your brothers, and those are your sisters. And we're never going away. There's a lot to tell you about your dad and what he meant to all of us, his friends. As you walk through this life, you'll see who he was and what he did for those he loved. His smile was honest and bright and always present. His calmness was a beacon that everyone followed. He was firm. He was honest. And he loved Santa Cruz. He loved the mountains and dreamt of a cabin in the Sierras. And he never once turned down an adventure. And Carter, he was never scared of having an honest conversation with anyone, no matter how bad it hurt. That was my last conversation with him. He knew that good would come out of the truth as long as it was said with purpose. Your dad, he never buckled or surrendered to anything that would question his integrity. He loved being a cop. He loved being your dad. We know because we heard about you every single day. When you were born, your picture was shared in our hallways, the locker room, roll call, and all of his friends, and even perfect strangers. It wasn't always easy for your dad. He had way too many friends, an incredible smile that never seemed to fade, and the right answer to just about everything. He was perfect. He was respected. Hearing someone arrested by your dad thank him before they parted ways was all too common. It was almost magical. There's so many things to tell you. Like the way he would always say, "So jealous," anytime he saw something he liked. Or how he would casually parade the hallways with his hands lounging in his back pockets, walking from person to person and office to office, just to catch up on the missed conversations. Or how he would always choose iced tea over beer, unsweetened. How he loved poker, hiking, and golf, and walks with you and your mom. Or how he joined just about every special team in the office, just because he could. Or better yet, about the time he convinced me to drive my brand new truck through a puddle, which unfortunately turned out to be a lake, not a puddle. It was a little deceptive, but the encouragement from your dad was all I needed. I drove through it as fast as I could. All of us smiling until my truck was submerged and stuck in water. Your dad right next to me in the passenger seat. He looked at me, his trademark smile hanging from ear to ear. He shrugged his shoulders and said, "Oops," as he rushed to bail water out the windows. He spent every free moment, Carter, with you, and loving your mama. We'll be forever grateful of his sacrifice, his leadership, and honor him as the hero he was. This is the community where your daddy's story will be told. The story about his love, his commitment, and his persistence toward caring for others. The cry of our community will forever tell his story. And because of that, your daddy's legacy will live forever. Carter, be loyal, be honest, and be Damon. Your daddy's a hero, and we love you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chris. And now Favi will come to the stage, Damon's wife. And as she approaches, this from Kyle Matson. On the morning Damon died, we were talking about his mother moving in with him. And the last thing I ever said to him as I went off duty was, "You're a better person than me." At the time, it was meant to be playful, but he truly was the best of us. There are people as good, but nobody better. And this from Ryan Ferroti. Damon made me a better deputy and a better overall person. He was always there, always smiling, and always happy. I can still hear his voice saying, "Hi," to me, like he did every time I saw him. I will miss him terribly.
Have you ever tried describing something incredibly beautiful to someone who has never seen it? Using just your words to describe something so remarkably special to someone who has never experienced it. For example, have you tried describing how beautiful all of Lake Tahoe is to someone who has never been there? You simply can't capture its beauty with a picture or with any amount of words. Some things are too big, too beautiful to describe, and a picture will never do it justice. That's how it is with Damon. I wish you all had the pleasure of knowing him. Instead, I can try to show you a few pictures, pieces of him, and hope you'll understand that he was so much more than these few short stories. On our first date, he brought ice cream over to my house, and we watched the movie 300. You know, the one about the 300 half-naked, greased-up Spartan soldiers battling an invading army of 300,000. Very romantic. On that first night, Damon was very respectful, or maybe just scared. He sat on the opposite side of the couch, at least 3 feet away from me, the whole night. It's a little thing, but it stays with me. As I quickly learned, it was part of who he was. He was always kind, loving, and respectful. Never so much as raising his voice at me. Never. If you know anything about me, you know that was extremely difficult to ask. From the start, he was always thinking about me, putting me first and making sure that I was okay. He wasn't like anyone I'd ever met before. Just a few weeks into our relationship, I had a horrible night at work. I'm a neonatal ICU nurse. A baby had passed, I had worked 16 hours, and was beyond emotionally and physically exhausted when I got home. As I walked up to my door, I saw a cooler. Inside was a note from Damon, He told me that he knew I had a terrible night at work, that he was thinking about me, and he didn't want to bother. He also wanted to make sure I had food when I got home and dinner for that night before I returned to work. So he brought me lunch and made me dinner and left it at the door for me. We'd only known each other for weeks. I didn't know that someone could really be that kind. The more I learned about him, the more I witnessed what a truly compassionate and caring man he was. He was an only child raised by his mom, Vicky. Vicky did a great job of raising this man. He was who he was because of her. And just like she took care of him when he was little, he took care of her as she got older. As her health has declined, he was by her side at every doctor's appointment, driving her from San Francisco to Los Angeles. Lately, she needed more care, and he invited her to come live with us, Damon taking on most of her needs and care. I knew from the beginning of our relationship he wanted to have children. When we met, we were both in our early 30s. And early on, I told him, I don't think I want to have kids. I think I should tell you that because I don't want to waste your time. He said that he didn't know what the future would hold, and he'd like to get to know me better. As I grew to know and love him, I wanted to have children with him. I wanted to have children because he would be their father. I would want that for any child. I wanted it for me and for the children we would have together. We had Carter a little over 2 years ago. Damon was ecstatic. You hear complaints about husbands not doing their share of taking care of the kids. That was not a problem with Damon. He was the one who would get up early with Carter, feed him breakfast, play with him until I woke up. I'm about to have our second child, and while I've been pregnant, Damon has been even more attentive, sending me off to take naps and get some rest every day while he takes care of Carter. I knew he would be a great father, and for a short time, I was able to see he wasn't just a great father, he was amazing. He was so good with Carter. They ran around, sang songs, danced, played with Legos, built puzzles, dug in the dirt for hours, had tea parties, played at the park, went on walks, cooked together. As much as one can cook with a 2-year-old. For his birthday last month, Carter got a little scooter. Damon got himself one too and said, I just can't wait to have father-son scooter rides. They were only able to have one. Damon talked all the time about the future with Carter. He was going to coach his little league team, teach him to play hockey, take him fishing when we went camping, teach him to play golf, and a countless number of other activities they would do together. Damon was the happiest when we were together as a family, regardless of what we were doing. Damon also had the same level of commitment and compassion towards his career. He loved what he did. It wasn't just a job. He wanted to take care of the community he grew to love, the community where he wanted to build a family and raise children. As selfless as he was, there was one thing that Damon wanted for himself: a Jeep. He wanted a Jeep since he was a boy. At some point after we met, he started putting money aside from every paycheck into his Jeep fund. After a few years, he had saved a good amount of money for his Jeep. And then we learned that his dog Shasta had cancer. Damon had Shasta when we first met, and they were always inseparable. Damon was as dedicated to Shasta as he would later be to Carter, making sure to take him on walks twice a day, every day. The vet told us Shasta would need surgery and radiation. And even with treatment, there was still a chance it could return and he would only have 1 to 3 years to live. The surgery and radiation would cost about what was in Damon's Jeep fund, and he spent a substantial amount of money and time to save his dog. He told me Shasta had brought him more joy than a Jeep ever could. There's a tradition in Wales that goes back hundreds of years of carving a love spoon from a single block of wood. A young man would carve a love spoon and give it to a girl to express what was in his heart. If she accepted it, it meant she felt the same way. The spoon would have symbols carved into it, each with a different meaning. I didn't know any of this until Damon made me a love spoon for Valentine's Day. Damon wrote me a note explaining the meaning of the symbols he had carved. Here's some of what he wrote. An anchor, settled love, eternal devotion, and security. Heart, true love. The carver's heart belongs to his love, his loved one. Keyhole. Security. I shall look after you and protect you. Spade, a promise to work and provide for you. This is the man that I am missing, who Carter is missing, and who our new baby will never meet. This is the man our whole community is missing. Or rather, these are just a few stories of who he was. I hope you can imagine what the whole man was like, what life with him was like. I was there. I saw it. I lived it. It was wonderful. When I look at our son, he reminds me of Damon in many different ways. From his long eyelashes, to his nose, to his silly personality, and the goofy grins he makes, just like Damon used to. I can only hope that our children will grow up to be just like their father, kind, loving, compassionate, honest, hardworking, and all around wonderful people. I pray for the strength to raise the amazing children he would have raised. I want to say thank you from my heart to all of the people who have helped me, our child and the child about to arrive. Thank you to my family, who loved Damon so much and made sure he knew he was a loved member of our family. Thank you to my friends who have been with me at so many of the best times of my life and who are with me now at the worst, as true friends are. Thank you to our community, the community that Damon loved so much and died defending. Your outpouring of support and love has been overwhelming. Thank you to the people across the country, people I may never meet, who have offered their support and love. And thank you to the Santa Cruz County Sheriff's Office for everything they have done and are doing. Receiving so much love. I do feel like Damon is here with me today. I think he's here now, and I hope he always will be. I know that I will carry him with me in my heart and through our children forever. Thank you again.
Bobby, we pledge to you our love and our support. And now as Mira Godo makes her way to the stage for one last song, this from Daniel Cruz. Damon, your contagious laugh and smile will always live in the heart of everyone who knew you. Thank you for being an exemplary deputy, but above all, my friend.
Kept me awake nights wondering, lie in the dark, just asking why. I've always been told you won't be called home until it's your time. I guess heaven was needing a hero, somebody just like you, brave enough to stand up for what you believe and follow it through.
Thank you, Mira. Well, if I could ask for just 5 more minutes of your attention, I'd like to share one more memory of Damon sent in by Daniel Freitas, and then some brief closing remarks. Daniel wrote, Damon epitomized what policing should be. He was, as you've heard many times today, selfless. He cared for his sick mother for as long as I knew him, it seemed. He loved and cared for Favi, for Carter, and for his unborn child. He loved and cared for his friends and complete strangers. Just one example, I remember years ago we were on a camping trip and we wanted to hike to another lake nearby that we'd heard about, but we set off far too late in the day. We made it to the lake just in time to not catch any fish, drink warm beer, and then have to turn right around to head back before dark. We were all pretty spent, including Shasta, Damon's beloved border collie. In fact, Shasta did what I've never seen a border collie do. He quit. He just laid down and gave up. Damon, though, didn't miss a beat. He threw Shasta over his shoulders and hiked him miles back to camp. That's who he was. He had no problem throwing someone in need over his shoulders to carry them along the way. Daniel continues, I believe on June 6th, Damon saved countless other lives in the long run. And you've heard Sheriff Hart and others say the same thing. And Daniel writes, and I truly believe if we had asked Damon if he would trade his life to save those countless other lives, he would have given us that famous smile, thrown that burden over his shoulders, and marched it down the hill with no complaint. We're at a gathering today of people of many faiths or no faith, but as a Christian minister, of course, I know my own faith's resources the best, so I will share how to grapple with these moments from that perspective. Because Daniel's words reminded me of something Jesus said, one of the most famous things he said. Greater love has no man than this, that a man laid down his life for his friends. That's from John 15:13. Just think of that sentence for a minute. Jesus is saying human greatness ascends no higher than when a person gives his life for somebody else. Now that's saying a lot. People have done great things, gone into space, built skyscrapers and cathedrals, made music, written poetry. But Jesus said, the greatest thing a human can do, surpassing all of that, is to give up his life for those he loves. And the man we have honored today has done this. In fact, every day when he got up, Damon offered his life in service, like many of you. Why did he do it? Well, I think you heard why today. A loving nature, a giant heart, loyalty, dedication to his calling. Now, if you believe, as I believe, as Sheriff Hart believes, that the world needs more people like that, let's all be like Damon. What do you do with your grief and your anger after this memorial? Where do you channel that emotion? Well, with everything you've heard today, what would Damon want you to do? If you can take the pain and the anguish, the sorrow of your loss, take that energy and think about perhaps just one quality you admired about Damon or heard about Damon today, and determine to put that energy into developing that one character quality in your own life for the rest of your life, that is the best way that you and I can honor Damon. The way he was kind, the way he prioritized family, the way he was selfless. We can never overcome evil with evil, only with good. So seek to multiply the good in Damon's life into your own. And that leads me to a very personal request to everyone here who knew Damon. I told Favi last week about my own story, not to liken it to her pain in any way except in one parallel. When I was just a toddler and my sister was a baby, our father also died in his 30s. Yet to this day, my little sister and I look back and say, we had a great childhood. In fact, the word we use is we had a blessed childhood. And we love our dad so much, though neither of us really knew him. My memories of him are shadows, and my sister, of course, has no memory of him at all. But we love him. Why? Here's why. Over the years of our life, to this day, from time to time, one of our families, our father's friends or another, would realize who we are, and we would hear this. You're Fred Schlepfer's kids? Then they'd say, we got to sit you down and tell you some stories about your dad. And they told us he was the best of all of us. He was so kind, he was so funny. And my sister and I grew up wanting to be like our dad, like your prayer, Favi. And so I give you this charge. If you knew Damon, you see, you must be the repository of memories of Damon for his children. Please seek them out over the years. Tell them what he was like. Tell them these stories we've shared today. Tell them how much you loved him. You may hesitate in fear it will hurt them. This will not hurt them. This will help them more than you know. As you tell them in so many words, greater love is no one than this, that he laid down his life for his friends. Speaking very personally, now those words can transform you when you think of who said it and what he was saying. Because the day after Jesus said those words, of course, famously, he himself was put on a cross unfairly and died. But it was out of love, he said, for the world. In other words, those words mean you are loved. Those words mean there's hope. And that's why the cross, for me, is incredibly powerful and empowering and compelling as a symbol. But again, in my own faith tradition and in Favi's, we see not only a cross, but an empty tomb. And that points to the hope that one day something so amazing will come to pass that, as the very last book of the Bible says, God will wipe away every tear, and death shall be no more, and there will be no more grieving or crying or pain. That's the day I long for, and you see, that's the day I live to bring people a preview of on earth through my life. And in doing so, I hope I look a little bit like Damon, with a cheerful spirit, a giant heart, and a loving attitude, and total dedication to my own calling. May we all go forward with the same determination from this moment, and may the grace of God be with you all. Amen.
Sam, 23.com. Sam, 23.com. Sam, 23.com. Negative response from Sam 23. Sergeant Damon Gutzwiller served Santa Cruz County for 14 years. He laid down his life for the community. His smile would light up any room, and his positivity would offer comfort in the darkest of times. We have lost a husband, father, son, and dear friend. Sergeant Gutzwiller, you are the individual every law enforcement officer strives to mirror and everything the sheriff's office represents. Your dedication and love you had for your community was only exceeded by the love you had for your family, your son, unborn child, and the love of your life, Bobby. You will be forever remembered and forever missed. The world is a better place because of you. Attention all units. NetCom shows Sam 23 off duty for the final time. Sergeant Damon Gutzwiller, Santa Cruz County Sheriff's Office, and to watch, Saturday, June 6, 2020. May you rest in peace. We'll have the watch from here. NetCom clear.
Now, would you please remain seated while the immediate family leaves the field? And at this point, would all uniformed Santa Cruz Sheriff's Office personnel please proceed out of Gate C to form the Wall of Honor? And now will all allied agency uniformed personnel please proceed also toward Gate C to continue the Wall of Honor. Thank you.